All right, well, we are down at the Roots to Harvest beehive, one of two beehives, right, Erin?
That's right, apiaries.
Apiaries,
Yeah.
apiaries they're called. And this is Heather and Lack, and what are they doing, Erin?
Yeah, so when we go into our beehives, we check for a couple things. We want to check for, like, do we have a queen? And is she laying? So each one of these hives has one queen. So we look for queens and or signs of the queen.
Okay.
And signs of the queen are there eggs, or is there brood, which would be like the larva that would, that an egg turns into. That's primarily what we want to check. And then bee health, is she laying in a good pattern, those sorts of things.
So what are they doing right now?
So right now they're removing just like excess comb, just to like keep the hives clean, so because the bees will sort of like build wherever they can. I'm just gonna move this a little bit so it's not blowing right at us. That's okay. I'll just move it over here. And so they're taking out, so each box, this is the brood box, the bottom box is the brood box. Each box has 10 frames, so Lack is holding a frame. So that's a frame of bees. Most of the bees on that frame are female worker bees, and the female worker bees are the ones that sting you. And then there's also drones, and drones are the male bees that can't sting you and that are looking for queens to mate with, and they just eat honey.
Gotcha. And you said the brood box, what does that mean?
Yeah, so the brood box means where we want the queen to stay and lay eggs and build up the hive colony itself, like the numbers. And then the second box up we call the super. And it looks the same, it's the same box, 10 frames, but the queen doesn't go in there. We keep queen excluders on ours, so she can't physically move between the boxes.
Oh, Heather's got eggs.
Okay, awesome. So, and when we know we have eggs, then it's such a good sign because we know we have a laying queen.
Ah, okay.
And if we have a laying queen, then we have a good hive. So then what they'll go through, they're like, okay, we have a queen, she's a laying queen. So now they'll continue to look for the queen, and also they're gonna look for queen cells. If the hive is gonna maybe swarm, which means take some of its, like a queen comes and leaves, then they'll try to raise a new queen. But we don't really want to do that because then we lose bees, and the population goes down. So then now they're looking for queen cells and or the queen itself still.
Right. Now pollinators are a big thing right now. We want to save the bees. We're doing this whole show based on bees and why they're so important, and and just how people like you and your organization can help bring awareness to that, and maybe inspire other people to have bees. Now you have bees here. You're allowed to have bees here.
Correct. Yep.
And at your other location.
Yep. And at Volunteer Pool. And so I mean, for us, like, there's two things for Roots to Harvest, at least, is primarily it's educational. That it's like a program element that is of animal husbandry that you just would not get in another place. Like, it's part of Lack's job is to do bee care while she's working with Roots to Harvest.
Okay.
And so there's something that happens around that, and that people, gravitate towards more than just like carrots and onions growing sometimes. And then there's a little bit of social enterprise in it for us. Like, we do make some money off of the honey, so we'll sell the honey just to, like, through markets and things.
Yeah, that's great.
But the other big piece is that this whole community now that lives around this neighborhood can come and see bees, can see bees be active, can see bees. Like, the neighbors around here will definitely notice this season increased pollination and fruit in their gardens, in their apple trees, and all those things.
Excellent. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because one strong hive, like a really strong hive, can have like 50 to 70,000 bees in it.
Wow.
So there's a lot of bees.
And you've had bees for years now.
I think this is year 7.
Wow.
Yeah, totally.
Year 7.
Yeah, and I
That's
feel
so
like
cool.
I'm actually just starting to understand it now.
Right. and so what inspired you to get bees or have bees or have an apiary?
And originally it was that
so cool.
added skill that we just can't get from just gardening. And this other way of caring for our spaces, or like that other piece of the food system. 1 out of every 3 bites of food you eat is because of pollination.
Right.
And so there's this added element to, it's not just about the food, it's not just about the soil, like it's actually really about the whole ecosystem around, food production. So that was like an initial reason. We also wanted honey, and I think originally we thought maybe we can make some money from selling honey, and we definitely do not make money from selling honey. We spend a lot of money on bees every year, on bee equipment, on replacing bees that might die in the winter.
Yeah, so what's bee? I know a few people have had bees, and maybe they've lost all their bees over the winter, like perhaps last year. Apparently it was a bad year for bees. Like,
we had a really good winter ourselves that year, but the previous year we actually lost quite a few. So up until about 4 years ago in Thunder Bay, Well, there's two things that happen. So like there used to be no mites, and there's a thing called the varroa mite, which you hear a lot about in the media, has come to Thunder Bay now. It's been here about 4 years. And so now all the beekeepers are having to learn that type of bee management, like with mites. The whole world of beekeepers has mites. It's not a new thing.
Oh, okay.
It just hasn't, like for 25 years, it wasn't in Thunder Bay.
Right.
And so we didn't really worry about it as much. We really tried to like make sure when we were buying queens, we were buying from Thunder Bay. But now that they're here, you know, now we have to learn about treating and monitoring and doing all the things. And, you know, are we doing that organically? Are we using, you know, non-organic chemicals? Like people are starting to make these choices and getting educated about it. But the other thing is we have winter. And so winter is hard on bees. These are like usually like European honeybees.
Where do they go in the winter?
Bees are so fascinating. So in the winter, they make a cluster. Okay. And they're totally alive, and they're just beating their wings to stay warm and keep their queen warm. And they eat sugar and honey. And so the whole thing is about keep the queen alive, because if the queen makes it to spring, then she'll start laying eggs again, and then your hive comes back.
So all the honey that they're making, essentially they need that to survive over the winter.
Correct. So
our job is to take their honey.
So we do want to take their honey.
A little bit.
Our job as a beekeeper is to like make sure they have enough, take what we need, and manage them so they can always make more.
Okay.
And so, you know, we wouldn't be taking a whole bunch of honey in like mid-September, because it's like they need that.
Right.
So we like that's part of the management.
It's a lot to learn.
Yeah, of just making sure that, you know, all the right things are happening.
So you've got, you know, Lack and Heather here. Like Heather, I know she has her own bees out at her own property.
Yep.
And that's awesome. And Lack is learning about it just by working here with you at Rooster Harvest.
Yeah, that's right.
No
and
previous
so
bee
how many
knowledge.
times have you been in here now, Lack?
This is my third.
Yeah.
Third time.
There's something really interesting happening with these frames these two are going through.
Okay, let's check them out.
Is that there was no foundation in these ones.
Whoa.
So if you pull out, can you pull out a different one, Heather, that has, this one has foundation?
Yeah.
And foundation, what do you mean by that?
Okay, I'm going to show you.
Do you want one of each?
Yeah. So,
Oh.
this is a frame that has foundation. It's a plastic, wax coated. It just gives them a start.
Yep.
These frames, we tossed in there when we just needed to put a frame in, but we didn't have any foundation. So the bees have totally made
that.
their own.
Wow.
What's hard about, like what will be tough for us is when we try to get the honey out of those frames, they don't have the same stability for our mechanisms to get honey out, because we spin it really fast. So I have never done it like this, so likely we'll probably break a lot of the comb, but this is so cool to see actually.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've never seen it like this.
It looks, a lot of layers. It looks so perfectly unison, like every single little...
Well, and the boxes are made for that. Like, so even the space between these two frames is at a space that we call it the bee space. So they're constructed in a way that there's this much wood on this side and this much on the other side. And so they make flat comb.
Okay.
So that it's just like, they can't build it out. It just doesn't work for them to move around. So they have to make it flat. So it's good. It makes them easier to manage. Some people actually do all their frames open like that. Like,
where do bees live in the wild? Like wild bees? Is that a stupid question?
No, it's not a stupid question at all. I mean, these bees are not native to Canada. And like these type of honeybees, there are a lot of native species of pollinating bees. They're not all honey making that are. So like mason bees are native to our area, and they're much more efficient pollinators, to be honest. They will pollinate at like 10 times the rate that a honeybee will, but they don't make honey. So
where do they live? They live in...
They actually live in mud.
Wasp nests or,
so they those ones are solitary bees, and they so there's so many different kinds.
Interesting.
But yeah, so not a ton of honeybees in our parts. South America has a lot of different varieties of honeybees.
So if you had the opportunity to speak to our viewers at home, which you do right now, about apiaries, about beekeeping, and something that you'd want our viewers to know, what would it be?
That's a good question. I think that the more that we can bring in this type of food system into our cities, like, I mean, I'm a big advocate for urbanizing things like this, then the more normalized we'll be able to see food as not a separation of us. And then the other thing, like for us, is that it is such a direct connection to nature to be able to observe and be a part of this system, that it's so fascinating. So, you know, I would say that bees managed well, bees managed safely, are really assets to communities, you know, for all the different reasons around education and food production and just beautification too.
Yeah.
It makes it a very vibrant space. I mean, like we're standing here and there's lots of bees. It's a sunny day. There's a honey flow and we're standing right in front of the entrances. They're probably like, come on guys.
Get out of here. Yeah.
But you see, like what we do is we put this fence up for us.
Yeah.
And what happens then is the bees have to go up and over it instead of like going straight here and walking through. So we're not always walking through clouds of bees.
Oh.
Also, as soon as you walk 3 feet away from here, even 2 feet,
even know.
you don't even know.
No, we've been pulled up and I had no idea there was even bees right here.
Yeah, you just can't tell.
You can't
and
tell.
there's, you know, 100,000 bees right here.
Yeah.
And you just don't know.
100,000 bees.
Yeah,
right
like
here.
There could be more even. Like I don't even know.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's such a lovely thing to be like part of the bee world because they've got it figured out.
Yeah.
And so we get to learn with them.
All right, well, thanks so much, Erin. Thanks for showing us your beehive. That's awesome. If
Thanks for
people at home
visiting.
watching this want to visit your beehive as well, what can they do?
If people want to come and visit, our sites are always open. There are no fences. So if they see people here working, then just go up and ask one of them, like, I heard you have bees, can I take a look? And they'll almost always say yes. We also have a beekeeping course that we do with Barry Tabor and the Beekeeping Association in town. So Thunder Bay Beekeepers. So the last weekend of every May we do a beekeeping course. It's a fee-for-service one, but people can learn about beekeeping and just like what's involved in it.
Yeah,
and even
awesome.
and it's really hands-on too.
I love it. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Educating the community on bees and apiaries and how we can help these little pollinators survive. That's awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Keep watching. There's a lot more coming your way on Where You Live.